Hello viewers, I am Mrinmoy Bhattacharjee, Senior Editor of EnergDive magazine, and I have with me one of the stalwarts and most authoritative voices when it comes to the energy and climate change domain, Dr. Ajay Mathur. Currently, he is serving as the professor at the School of Public Policy at IIT Delhi. Dr. Mathur, pleasure having you on.
Thank you very much. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Let's begin our interview by asking you this question. You have led two different but globally influential institutions like the BEE and the International Solar Alliance. Looking back, what common institutional challenges did both roles reveal about driving large-scale energy transitions?
One of the key challenges is to get a viewpoint that all stakeholders agree to. Whether it was the Bureau of Energy Efficiency or it was the International Solar Alliance, the issue always was you have to get to a view, to a policy that is acceptable to all. Which means that in the BE, we did a lot of stakeholder consultations with industry on the one hand, and with various ministries of the Government of India on the other hand. In the International Solar Alliance, we had to deal with talking to a large number of countries to figure out their views. And essentially, also help them in building up their views on what a successful policy may look like. Sometimes they are themselves not very clear about what they should have. But then it behooves us to make sure that the policy works. And for a policy to work, what I have found is you need a clear institution.
Okay.
You need a clear set of principles, guidelines, standard operating practices, call it what you may. And you need a budget to make it happen. If these two things happen, then you've got a successful policy. You also got success in implementing it.
India's energy journey began with efficiency first thinking at BEE and later moved on into the scale-led, renewable expansion through solar. In your view, how critical was this sequencing to India's energy credibility today?
Let me give you an example. If you take a solar lantern or a solar lamp, as soon as you changed the incandescent bulb to a LED bulb, energy efficiency action,
right,
the amount of energy declined considerably, even though the price of the bulb was more. But the solar panel reduced to about 6, 7, 8 times what it was earlier. So did the battery. And they reduced the price. And the overall price of the solar lamp is much lower. It's 1/6 of what it was earlier. What it implies is that you first have to have energy efficiency products and then move to renewable energy. In my view, this country did well. The country did globally well by first positioning itself as an energy efficiency leader and then as a renewable energy leader as well.
Okay. Let me draw your attention to our next question, which is policy design versus behavioral change.
Mm-hmm.
Energy efficiency policy often depend less on technology and more on behavioral and market response. In your experience at BEE, what that taught you about designing policy that actually change consumption patterns?
So if you look at the standards and labeling program, the STAR program as we call it, it's really about behavioral nudges. Okay. It's about getting you and me to adopt a more efficient device. And what did we do? We put labels with stars on it. Yeah. A 5-star was more efficient than a 2-star.
True.
But what is also important is that the 5-star to a 1-star, the narrative needs to be told to you and I, who are the consumers of that device, who are the buyers of that device. So an outreach effort with the narrative is also equally important. In my view, people do change their behavior if it is in their interest, if it is in their value system.
Okay.
So what we saw was that here was something which saved you money, or in the case of 5-star, here was something which clearly was said to be the best. If I want the best, I want the best of air conditioners also. The problem was I wasn't sure what is the best. The star labeling did that.
Okay.
And what it therefore did was gave the nudge that was needed by you and I to make our decisions.
Okay. Let's focus on the international landscape. The International Solar Alliance was conceived as a platform for global cooperation, especially for the global south. What has been the hardest gap to bridge between political commitment and on-ground deployment across countries?
You know, there are two major changes occurring in most developing countries at the same time. On the one hand, as in India pre-1990 or pre-2003, all investment in the electricity sector, in the energy sector, was government-based. Now, most of the governments in the developing countries were members of the ISA. There is no more government funding because they're up to their ears in debt, in borrowed money. So they need to move to a model that attracts the private sector and its money. So that's the first transition that they're going through, government to private sector.
Okay.
At the same time, there's a second revolution in which you're talking of moving away from fossil fuels to renewables. And therefore, the regulations, the thinking, the overall structure of the grid is all based on fossil fuels. With renewables, that will change. So, convincing governments that they needed people, they needed to make the changes that were necessary, and they need the new technologies, the new finances that are important for this to happen, that was a tough task. You had to essentially show it country by country by country that this is what you need to do.
Okay. Finally, let's focus on the leadership. As India positions itself as a clean energy leader, what kind of leadership mindset, be it bureaucratic, diplomatic, or market-oriented, will be decisive over the next decade?
At the end of the day, you need to enable the Indian industry to have global markets. That is the defining. Now, what is important for that to happen is, number one, that they adopt policies that make it happen, that creates the demand. And the second is that there is adequate local skills to choose the right equipment and install and service the right equipment. Therefore, to me, the change of the regulations and the skills development go hand in hand. And that is where India is positioning itself and needs to position itself more strongly in the years to come.
Okay. On that note, we thank you for this interview. Pleasure having you on.
Such a pleasure. And it's wonderful to be here.